What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and yes, I'm still in West Virginia, so you're gonna get another car video. I'll be headed back to South Carolina tomorrow. I'll probably have to put out a video before I head out, so you'll probably get one more car video tomorrow. Just a quick reminder, if you're a college football or a college basketball fan, then you really need to hit that like and subscribe button to this channel, because that's all we do here. We also have a revamped Patreon page. We're putting a lot of time and resource into that. We have a great website. So far, we have 5 writers for the website, goldenbluedude.com. Scotty B, the Baylor King for Baylor. Matt Tasler for Texas. Michael Walker for West Virginia. Ryan McCulloch for Oklahoma. And Sam Stouffer for BYU. And if you're interested for writing for your team, get your team some exposure on our website, just shoot me an email. I'll leave my email in the link in the description of this video. And today, I wanted to talk about what's going on with the NIL, specifically Ole Miss. And no, I'm not picking on Ole Miss. It just kind of popped off the screen to me. So Lane Kiffin has voiced his concern about the NIL. He said, the NIL is here. It's not going away. But he's also concerned because players will go where they're paid the most. And he said, we don't have the same funding resources as some of those schools for these NIL deals. What? Well, didn't Ole Miss put out an article where Ole Miss Athletics is launching what's called the Next Level NIL program? Because that's exactly what they did. And that NIL program is supposed to be one of the best in the nation. So that's kind of contradicting yourself there, Lane. He also goes on to say you just legalized paying players like people used to cheat. Basically saying it used to be called cheating. Now it's not. Are you complaining or are you not? Are you saying one thing or are you saying the other? Are you for the NIL or are you against the NIL? Totally confused over here. We have a great merchandise store as well. All kinds of stuff over there. And if you'd like to support Golden Blue Dude financially, we have a PayPal, and I'll leave the link to everything in the description of this video. Well, let's look at the effects that the NIL has had on Ole Miss so far. This might make you raise your eyebrows. Just like everybody else, Ole Miss did lose some players through the transfer portal. I mean, that's the two dots that are connected here. The transfer portal and the NIL. Recruiting is affected as well. But as far as the guys that they lost, I mean, they lost 1 4-star, 18 3-stars, and 1 2-star. And one guy that wouldn't even rank with stars, so whatever that means. So that seems like a big deal, but look at what they got in return. They got 1 5-star in return, 7 4-stars in return, and 6 3-stars. Hey, that's a good swap. I would take that any day. And the guys that they did lose, 3 of them went to Southern Miss, 4 of them went to South Alabama, 2 to Indiana, 1 to UCF, 1 to Houston, 1 to Louisville, 1 to Miami, Florida, and 1 to Wyoming. So most of the ones that are headed out of Ole Miss are headed to a group of 5 teams. So I think that's more about playing time than it is the NIL. Now here's the guys that they got through the transfer portal. And they are ranked number 1 by 247 Sports as far as how they fared in the transfer portal. They have 2 great running backs. They're going to have a good running game this year. They got the 3-star running back, Ulysses Bentley from SMU. Just had a great year. And also the 4-star running back, Zach Evans from TCU. So they're going to have a great 1-2 punch in the running game next year. They also got 5-star quarterback Jackson Dart. Now, he doesn't have a ton of experience, but the experience that he does have, he looked pretty good over there at USC. Well, Ole Miss got him. They got 2 wide receivers. Both of them were 3-stars. Malik Heath from Mississippi State and Jordan Watkins from Louisville. So even if they're not super dynamic players, they'll add some depth. But if you look at their stats, they actually had some really good production last year. They got a 4-star offensive tackle from Western Kentucky, Mason Brooks. I don't know how Western Kentucky got him in the first place. And they also got 3-star offensive tackle Jordan Rhodes from South Carolina. And finally, the tight ends. Well, the first guy is actually a hybrid. He's also a defensive tackle, but he's listed as a tight end. 4-star tight end J.J. Piggs from Auburn. As a defensive tackle, 16 tackles, 11 by himself. And as a tight end, 7 receptions for 57 yards. But to go along with him, they have 4-star tight end Michael Trigg from USC. 7 receptions for 109 yards, 1 touchdown. So also another great 1-2 punch at the tight end position. Now on over to the defense real quick. They got 3-star defensive end Corey Coleman from TCU. Pretty decent stats right there. But the better defensive end was Jared Ivey, the 4-star out of Georgia Tech. His stats are even better. And they both have some good experience. So that defensive line could be something to contend with. And the biggest issue with Ole Miss, the defensive side of the ball. They definitely helped themselves this year in the transfer portal. They also have linebacker Troy Brown from Central Michigan. This guy had a great season last year. He's a 4-star linebacker, and he has 4 years of experience. So he's a great athlete, and he has a lot of experience. That's a great 1-2 punch in one player. They also grabbed 2 safeties. The first one, the 3-star Ashim Young from Iowa State. Great stats from last year. I mean, he forced 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 2 pass deflections. That is called a difference maker right there. And they also got the 4-star safety Ladarius Tennyson from Auburn. He got buried on the depth chart, but the dude can flat out ball. So that'll add some excellent depth to the secondary. So they got 1 player from SMU, 2 from TCU, 2 from USC, 1 from Mississippi State, their arch in-state rival, 1 from Louisville, 1 from Georgia Tech, 2 from Auburn, 1 from Western Kentucky, 1 from South Carolina, 1 from Central Michigan, and 1 from Iowa State. So they got 4 transfers out of their own conference, the SEC. So I would say the transfer portal / the NIL is definitely working for Ole Miss, not against Ole Miss. Ole Miss also had the number 23 recruiting class in 2022 with 5 4-stars and 13 3-stars. Don't feel bad for Ole Miss. They're not hurting for anything. I don't know what kind of smokescreen Lane Kiffin is trying to set up for everybody. Maybe he's afraid that they might underperform in 2022, so he has the built-in excuse. I don't know, but let's take a look at their schedule real quick. First, they're out of conference. They start the season off with Troy at home, then they get FCS Central Michigan, then they go on the road to Georgia Tech. That could be interesting. Georgia Tech is on the uprise. I don't think they're there yet, but it could be interesting. And then finally, a home game at Tulsa. I'm going to go ahead and say Ole Miss goes 4-0 in their non-conference schedule. I'm fairly confident with that prediction. Worst case scenario, 3-1. Then they get into SEC play. A home game against Kentucky, at Vanderbilt, and then another home game against Auburn. So we could be looking at a 7-0 Ole Miss, possibly a top 5 ranking. Definitely top 10, possibly top 5. They might be talking about college football playoffs at that 7-0. But after that, a road trip to LSU and a road trip to Texas A&M. There's at least 1 loss right there, maybe 2. Then they get their bye week, and then they come back home to Alabama. And I think they're capable of beating Alabama, but I'm still having Alabama as an undefeated, undisputed national championship next year. And I think the closest anybody will get to them as far as maybe making it a competitive game, 10 points. Maybe that's Ole Miss. They beat Ole Miss by 10 in Oxford. Then they finish off the season at Arkansas and Mississippi State. In my opinion, there is no excuse to not have another 10-win season. The question is that underperforming for the standards of Ole Miss fans? Because their expectations have gone through the roof. What are Ole Miss fans expecting in 2022? So, once again, I'm going to take it to the comments section, whether you're an Ole Miss fan or whether you're not. Do you think the expectations are higher than a 10-win season? What would be considered a failure at Ole Miss this year? I'll always respect your opinion, but I will give you my opinion on your opinion. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.